The Y2K pop era was a very distinctive time in popular culture. From the oversized clothing to choreographed dance moves to futuristic album designs, these were all characteristics that helped establish the pop stars of that time. Nsync, a 5-piece boy band formed in 1997 by businessman Lou Pearlman, was among the most successful and recognizable pop acts of that era. The members Chris, Lance, Justin, Joey, and JC all had the looks and personalities to enter the tween market and dominate it. While admittedly their first album was a carbon copy of the Backstreet Boys' first album, it wouldn't be until their second studio record, titled No Strings Attached, that they really defined themselves as a force to be reckoned with. The forward-thinking production and ahead of its time writing led to groundbreaking success. Ironically, it's when they were the most successful that they became entrenched in a messy legal battle with their manager and record label. Fighting for their name, Nsync would have to overcome bad contracts and greedy men trying to take advantage of them. In this video, we're going to be discussing the formation of Nsync, as well as how their legal troubles led to one of the greatest Y2K pop albums ever. Let's get into it. The creation of Nsync was started by member Chris Kirkpatrick. Chris was in college working part-time in a doo-wop group at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. While he was working there, he was connected through a mutual friend to a man named Lou Pearlman. Just for context, Lou Pearlman was an entrepreneur who had a history in the aviation business, leasing out blimps, helicopters, and planes to high-end clients. One day, he chartered a private plane to the group New Kids on the Block. After asking them what they did and observing how much money they made in record sales, he decided he wanted to create boy bands as well. After successfully creating the Backstreet Boys, Lou told Chris if he could find another boy band, he would fund them. Chris started making some calls and found Justin Timberlake, who had previously worked on the Mickey Mouse Club. Justin agreed and referred his friend and co-star JC Chasez to be a part of the group. After all three members linked up, they spotted Joey Fatone dancing at Universal's Pleasure Island and asked him to be a part of the group. Joey accepted and further offered his friend Jason Watkins to be the last member. However, Jason didn't feel like being in a boy band was for him and dropped out. In search for a last singer, Justin's mom made a call to his old vocal coach and they found their last member, Lance Bass. Nsync signed to Lou Pearlman's record label, Transcontinental, but because it was an indie label, they were looking for a major record label to really put them on the map. It wouldn't be until BMG Germany showed interest that Lou devised a plan to have Nsync break international markets before US markets. His main reasoning behind this was because European markets were more accepting of pop music, with the Spice Girls and Take 5 already gaining huge success. In preparation for the trip, the boys went through boot camp in which they trained tirelessly in a warehouse, perfecting their dance moves and vocals. Nsync released their debut album in Germany on May 26, 1997, and gained overnight success, with the album reaching #1 on the German charts. After successfully touring Europe, they decided it was time to break the US market. They ended up readjusting a few tracks to better fit the US and re-released their album on March of 1998. The album did not do phenomenally well, debuting at number 82 and hovering around there for a few months. It was only when the Backstreet Boys backed out of a Disney Channel concert special due to being burnt out that Nsync would get the opportunity to make their US mark. On July 18, 1998, the television concert premiered, and because Disney would constantly replay it, their album slowly made its way to #2 of the Billboard 200, surpassing the Backstreet Boys album. After their first album was released, it went diamond, selling over 10 million copies in the US. However, in late 1998, they started to realize that their money wasn't adding up. It was only when they took a better look at their contracts that they realized Lou Pearlman, someone they nicknamed Big Papa, was cheating them out of millions of dollars. Lou was doing this by paying himself as if he were a part of the group, meaning he got payments from album sales, touring, and merchandising. Then he would take his position as a manager and split the profits 50-50. It was a complete scam, and the only reason he got away with it was because he was telling the boys to use his lawyers to read over their contracts, totally disregarding conflict of interest. A similar thing happened to 90's girl group group TLC, and I talked about it in a separate video. In July of 1999, Nsync tried to renegotiate their contract with Lou Pearlman and the chief executive of BMG Records, Strauss Zelnick. Strauss ended up siding with Pearlman, so in efforts to get away from their record label, Nsync decided to sign a new record deal with Jive Records. For those of you who don't know, Jive housed fellow teen pop acts Britney Spears and the Backstreet Boys. On October 12 of 1999, Transcontinental and BMG Entertainment filed a federal lawsuit against Nsync and Jive Records for breach of contract. On November of 1999, Nsync launched a countersuit against Lou Pearlman for $25 million, citing fraud. In court documents, JC Chazé called Pearlman an unscrupulous, greedy businessman who, while hugging us and calling us family, was picking our pockets, robbing us of our future, and even endangering our health. Tax forms filed on behalf of Nsync indicated that members of the group earned only approximately $20,000 each in 1997 and $38,000 each in 1998, despite yet again their record label and management earning hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. The court battle became a highly publicized event, with Nsync fans outside the courtrooms praying for the win. On November 24th of 1999, Judge Anne C. Conway denied BMG's and Lou Pearlman's attempt to stop the group from using their name and releasing their second studio album until after the case goes to trial. Luckily, before the case had to go to trial, on December 23rd of 1999, it was announced that Nsync, Transcontinental, and Jive Records were able to come to a compromise and settle out of court. Nsync was free to record and release their most important album to date. During the creation of their second studio album, Nsync had a lot more creative control than before. The group recorded much of the songs without a record deal, making their own calls to producers and songwriters. They ended up working with a variety of people, from longtime collaborator Max Martin to Destiny's Child producer Shakespeare. The visual concept of the album was all about liberation, no longer being puppets to their record label. In terms of music, on the first two tracks, you get the traditional pop and R&B sound that Nsync is known for, except this time it was much more edgier and in your face. On the third track, Space Cowboy Yippee-Yi-Yay, we get arguably the weirdest Y2K song ever written and produced. You see, there were a lot of theories about what would happen on the turn of the millennium. Some thought that the world would end, while others thought that computers would crash. In this song, Nsync's greatest solution to the dilemma is to be a space cowboy and lead the world. Like I said, it's a weird song. They also have a song titled Digital Get Down that was really ahead of its time with the way that it predicted cybersex. Skype hadn't even been invented until 2003, and this record came out in year 2000. Aside from the Y2K centered songs, they also have hidden gems like It Makes Me Ill, which was sampled by Ariana Grande for her song Break Up With Your Girlfriend. Undoubtedly the best track on the album though is I'll Be Good For You, featuring production from Justin Timberlake. It definitely was a precursor to the type of smooth R&B he would make on his solo albums. After the release of the album, the commercial success was insane. The album sold 2.4 million records within its first week. To put that into perspective, the Backstreet Boys' Millennium set an all-time high with 1.13 million records, then Britney Spears beat the figure the following spring with 1.3 million copies of Oops, I Did It Again. So Nsync hitting 2.4 million in their first week is unheard of. Barry Weiss, the president of Jive Records, stated, quote, "The lawsuit created an inordinate amount of pent-up demand in the marketplace, so when the album came out, it was a volcanic explosion of sales." In the end, Nsync was able to beat the stigma of being the Backstreet Boys wannabes and created an album that cemented their place in Y2K pop forever. This has been Flashy, thank you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then I would be forever grateful if you liked, comment, and subscribed. It really helps the channel grow. If you would like to keep up with me on Instagram and get updates on the videos, then make sure to follow Flashy Magazine. That's all I got for now. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll catch you guys with the next video real soon.